Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are honored to have Dr. Mamiko Odegard joining us. She's a psychologist, relationship therapist, best-selling author, biz life coach, and so much more. Welcome back, darling. How are you?
Oh, thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Well,
Wonderful. Thank you.
always
Yep.
excited to have you here and talk about relationships with ourselves, with others, and how you're really helping us today. So I know we're going to continue the exciting topic about healthy and unhealthy relationships because last time you provided us a list of unhealthy relationship characteristics. So how do we know again if we're in an unhealthy relationship? Do you want to start with that today?
Yes, that's a perfect way to start. Thanks so
Great.
much, Jill, for that introduction. I want you to begin to trust yourself and your emotions as well as be more aware. And so, one of the things that you want to do if you're in any relationship is really gauge how you're feeling. Are you happy? Are you energized? Are you feeling excited? Are you anticipating about the relationship growing? Are you happy with the way it's existing? Or are you feeling isolated and alone? If you have moods of sadness and anxiety, low energy, well, that tells you that something's off. And if a large part of it is your relationship, then that's what you want to work on. And then the other thing, too, is that do you feel like you're trying to control or manipulate the other person? And that's a lose-lose situation for the other person and for
Ooh.
you. And so that's why I'm saying instead of trying to remember all the different characteristics of a healthy and unhealthy relationship, really gauge it by your feelings. Because if you feel like you're controlling or you're being
Mm.
controlled, you're being manipulated,
Ugh.
that you're not happy, you can't just relax and just be yourself, and that you can't rely on that person to be there when you need them. And so that results in an easiness and mistrust. And that's what I want you to be aware of is that you don't have to live with miserable feelings like this, where it's kind of like you're on hyper alert of being anxious and being, having that generalized anxiety, if you will, where
Yep.
you're kind of looking around and you're checking on your partner and all that. If you're doing all those things, that's not a healthy relationship for sure.
Oh my goodness. Oh, thank you. Well, we also want to know a little bit about, how do we know if we found healthy love? And we'll talk more about some healthy relationships and good characteristics. But I also just want people to know at any time during the show, they are able to call in to Dr. Miko at any time, 631-307. 4010. I am opening the lines as we speak. 631-307-4010. If you do have any questions throughout the show, please feel free to get your input out there. And of course, you can ask the expert anything. All right, let's
Oh,
continue.
thank you for that. Yeah,
You're
and I
welcome.
just want to let the listeners know that they really can ask me anything. And especially if you ask during this podcast, then that helps not only you, but other people that are listening because you share
Yep,
common concerns and problems for sure.
sure
So,
do.
you know, let the phones ring if they will. And, feel free. This is something that's anonymous, so you could just be as open as you'd like and really have the questions answered that are burning away for you. So, one of the things that you started hinting at is about healthy relationships. And so I want to jump into that to switch gears a little bit because I want you to have a whole continuum of choices that are available to you today. And first of all, you've got to be able to recognize healthy relationships because a lot of us haven't had those sorts of experiences. But in a healthy relationship, you feel connected. You feel like you can be yourself. You feel like you can talk to the other person, that you can relate. I'm sure that many of you have had this experience either with friends that have grown close to you or with lovers. And that is all of a sudden, it seems like as you started talking, it was magical that you had so much in common. And there weren't any uncomfortable silences, but instead, you were really just talking with each other and feeling like you've been best friends for years. And so, if you're able to communicate and to connect with each other like that, then you know that you've got the potential for a really deep level of relationship. And so, there's support, there's caring, there's understanding. That friend or that partner gets you, meaning that can have compassion and understand where you're coming from. And that's that empathy that we talk about. And empathy is really interesting because it's an intellectual as well as an emotional understanding. It's a deeper level of understanding. It's just not mental. And so then, you begin as the relationship develops to trust each other more and
Mm-hmm.
you become interdependent. And
Ooh.
what I mean by that is that your partner
Yeah.
doesn't do his or her thing and you do another, but you begin to discuss ideas. You work together as a team
Mm-hmm.
and truly become partners where you talk about your wildest dreams or what your ideal romantic night would be, or some of the things that on a day by day basis cause you frustration or anxiety or stress. And so I just want you to know that it's okay to talk about your needs and feelings, and you have freedom to make choices that way. And you feel a deep sense of gratitude. And this is something that's very important, and
Okay.
that is you are in a healthy relationship. You yourself experience personal growth. You're not
Okay.
trying to change your partner. Your partner experiences growth, insights,
Ah.
and you do too. And that's a real hallmark as to, does your partner bring out the best in you, is what I'm asking you, so that you can continue to grow to support yourself. Like when, because of my Japanese background, I wasn't always the most outspoken person or the assertive person. And so one of the things that my husband Greg did from the time that we got together is he really wanted to know my real self. He wanted me to know, when I would be irritated or angry with him, or being expressive the other direction of when
Yep.
I really appreciated something that he did. And so your partner supports your emotional growth. They also can support your professional growth. And so that's again a very important element of my relationship with Greg. And that is anytime he had to do a presentation or I had to do a presentation or he was developing strategies to talk at a board meeting or something like that, then we would share our ideas or our notes, or we might sometimes even do a mock presentation together. That's how the type of love and support that you get helps you to grow personally, professionally, emotionally, mentally, because as they say, two heads are better than one, right? And then
Yeah.
one last thing is about, in contrast to the unhealthy relationships where you worry and you think about what your partner or friend might be doing or feeling, you feel really joyful there, and that's beyond the happiness. You just feel this joy inside. You just feel more confident, and you have that mutual respect. So there's a lot of things that raise the energy within you and between the two of you and in your friend or partner.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for that. And just curious, when do you know the difference between if it's infatuation or real love? How quick does that spark like those pheromones and everything in the beginning that seems so wonderful and great? When do they kind of dissipate? Is it 6 months or is it less?
It could be any length of time. It could be after a week or 2 weeks or, a month. So there's no real time limit, except to let you know that when you're just going on those pheromones and chemistry, you're letting all the biological stuff
Yeah.
take over. And it's like, wow, this feels so good. And one of the biggest is obviously sex. And so when you
Yeah.
have a sexual intimacy and you have that with a person early on in your relationship, then that's what you become obsessed with. And infatuation is really a form of obsession where we can't get that person out of our minds, or we relive the feelings of how great it felt to be held, or the sexual, climaxing together, or the massaging, whatever it is that kind of just wowed you. But the infatuation by nature, not only is it intense, but it's very fleeting, so that it's for very short periods of time. And then the other person cheats, goes on to the next one, and you end up feeling devastated, or that high just isn't there, because it seems like every time that you get
Mm-hmm.
together, it's all about sex. It's centered around sex, or how hot the person looks, because there's so many of us. And when I ask couples as to what it is that attracted them to each other, oftentimes it's about the appearance. And so infatuation is really about that chemistry, the appearance, and how that person makes you feel. And so, like I say, it's making assumptions, it's having illusions, it's creating that person that we want to have in our lives. And we spend so much energy wondering, what is that person doing? Is he thinking of me? If so, what does he think of me? What does he think about our relationship? Is he seeing
Mm-hmm.
other people? And so forth. And so you just get kind of caught up, and it's hard to concentrate on your day by day activities and job and that sort of thing. And in contrast, real love is deep and it grows over time. And so it's not like here today, gone tomorrow sort of situation, but it tends to grow on you. And if you look at those characteristics again, or listen to them about healthy relationships, you'll know how you begin to trust each other, how you begin to create mutual interests, and how those good times are shared. So it's not all centered around the chemistry and the sexual parts and that sort of excitement, but you really are being able to enjoy the company of the other person, and you are treated as someone who's very special, precious, and there's cherishing. And my husband and I have been married, as you know, for over 30 years. And our love keeps growing. And it
Mm.
grows in different ways where we discover things about ourselves and each other. So that's the art of love. It's like a flower that blossoms. And so then you end up feeling more and more connected and appreciating each other more.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I love it. Beautifully, beautifully said. By the way, the lines are open if anyone is calling. Please feel free. 631-307-4010. 631-307-4010 if you do have any questions. In the meantime, let's continue. We've always talked a little bit about changing. A lot of us think we could change each other. Can you share a little bit of that
Oh,
misconception
of
with us?
course. I'm so glad you asked that, Jill. And that is, I do want to make the point again that we can't change another person. And so, I want you to look at it. And this is specifically a homework assignment for you. And that is, I want you to look at, what are the deal breakers for you? And the deal breakers can be multiple sources. It can be things like chemical dependency,
Mm-hmm.
alcoholism, alcohol abuse, the person lies or cheats, or, hides pictures, doesn't share the phone, and the photos and things like that. Is very secretive and always keeps it close by. Or that person just doesn't know how to really hear you, to understand you. That person just doesn't get you. And because he doesn't get you, might be more self centered, which you can't change, or doesn't know how to show gratitude and appreciation to you. So, he seems to, or she seems to only care about themselves. So, that person doesn't talk to you about your thoughts, feelings, your dreams, and so forth, your needs and wants. And then if you do happen to talk about those things, then that partner can ridicule and minimize that sort of thing, so that you really do have, that as a list. If that's something that you're having, make a list of the deal breakers
Okay.
for you. And, it was interesting when I was giving a presentation. This was like over 30 years ago. And I was
Okay.
talking about love and attraction. And
Mm-hmm.
then, so my husband, just so that you know a little bit about him,
Yeah.
I met my husband Greg in the library at Colorado State University, and we were instantly drawn to each other as we started conversing because he was the wittiest, the funniest person that I'd ever met, as well as very personable too. And so we clicked right away because there's that rapport of going back and forth. Well, he happened to be at the library, quote, studying, as well as eyeing the ladies that were there, because he was working on his doctorate. And so he and I both had PhDs. So our daughter, when she was growing up, no way do I want to get a PhD or have that higher
Yeah.
educational degree. So going back to that question that was asked to me many years ago, now that I've framed it, is, what about you? If you fell in love with somebody that's a manual labor, a ditch digger, a trash collector, so forth, is does that have possibilities?
Yeah.
And
Oh, Dr. Mamiko, we lost you 1 second. It's frozen. Can you hear me?
for
Hello.
me,
There you go. You're back. Dr. Mamiko, I think we lost you again. I heard for me, and then you froze. Dr. Mamiko.
Joe, I don't.
I'm like, oh,
Hey guys, sorry, there was an error and something happened. I don't know what happened. So, Bobby, I'll be with you in a little bit, right?
yep. In a little bit, we got time.
Yeah, so sorry. There's the whole system rebooted and it popped you in, and so
Oh,
sorry. I'll see you in a few.
no problem.
Thank
Bye.
you so much. Bye, hon. Yeah, Dr.
Okay.
Miko, I don't know what happened. I guess you ended up, we
I'm not
lost
sure
you.
either, but
All I heard was, and now I forgot what you said. So let's rewind the drop
yeah.
to
So
finish and we
so
can edit it
anyway, what
together.
I was saying about this question that I was asked by someone in the audience is that would I be, just as attracted and marry, someone who is in the manual labor, such as, trash collecting or, digging ditches or whatever it is that was hard labor. And my answer to that was being honest with myself. That answer is no, because I value education and all the possibilities that come with education, because I saw that as the gateway for me to advance myself, to have greater self esteem and pride in myself, and so forth. It was part of my journey to create the best version of myself. And so, that's something that really drew me to Greg, because he was also highly motivated and certainly had more education at the time than I did. I was just finishing up my undergraduate degree. So that's why I'm saying, look at things like education levels, look at characteristics like ambition. If you have a lot of ambition or your partner has a lot of ambition and you two are like yin and yangs, the
Yeah.
opposite, then at some point, that's going to become a friction point, a point of dissatisfaction. So that is your homework assignment for next time. And as we continue the series of how you can have the best relationship possible, is that you've got to also know your own weaknesses,
Mm-hmm.
and you also have to know how that relates to you and the partners that you choose, whether they're healthy or unhealthy, as well as these deal breakers. Are you ignoring the signs of these deal breakers and full speed ahead, basically?
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Also, Dr. Mamiko, did you want to talk a little bit about where were we? Did we were in healthy relationships? Where were we? I'm so
Right.
sorry.
And we're talking about infatuation
Infatuation
as
still,
well
yes.
as everlasting love. And so, everlasting love can feel very intense at the beginning.
Okay.
And there's a greater appreciation and greater affection that grows over time. And you begin to see those characteristics of each other.
Got it. All right. So next up for us, we're talking about, well, we were talking about you can't change one another, right? And
Right.
we still got 5 more minutes.
Yes, and that's what I was talking about is be careful of your attempts to change someone else because it's like, bringing a horse to water, you can't make the horse drink. And so it's really important that this is an opportunity for you. If you're trying to change a partner, try using an iMessage. An iMessage has to do with showing your thoughts and feelings. So this is a step in the assertive direction where you're letting the other person know about you. So you can do it as a compliment of sorts and say, I really appreciated when you helped me with the
Mhm.
dishes or when you spoke to me and asked me about how I was feeling. That felt so great. So you can do subtle things like encouragement and reinforcement. And so that's not manipulation. But you can also talk about your own feelings, like I was thrilled, or, one of the things that saddened me is when you talked about blah, 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 because in dysfunctional relationships, unhealthy relationships, then your partner tends to dismiss your feelings, minimize them, even ridicule them. So, you want to have someone who really hears you, hears you, understands, and then has that compassion and empathy.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
those are the three aspects of really listening and getting it.
Beautiful. And what else did you have in store for us? Sorry, we have to scoot through this a little quicker. Unhealthy relationships, childhood, weaknesses.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about childhood in just a couple of minutes before we end, because you've got to be transparent with yourself, but it's not just transparency. You've got to know yourself so well. You've got to know how you became the person that you are. You also have to know and understand your partner's background so that you don't take things personally. So when I work with individuals or couples, the first thing that I do is I find out about their family background because that family background, especially as you're in the early years, determine the type of person that you are, the type of person that you are attracted to, and also where you might bump heads. And so that's going to give you a lot of clues as to the type of relationships that you're repeating from your family of origin, or if you are like some of the healthy, determined, strong individuals, then you decide the type of partner that you would like, the type of lifestyle that you like, and you actually become the opposite
Hmm.
of what you experience. So like in my family of origin, just like your family, Jill, there's all these arguments that were
Ah,
going on, and sometimes
ah,
those arguments would turn violent with my parents. And so one of the priorities for me is that I wanted somebody who is
mm-hmm.
articulate and who could really express his feelings, because we weren't going to get into those sorts of verbal and
Yeah.
physical, you know, um, violence and obstructions. So anyway,
Are you still there? Don't freeze
yep, I'm
again.
here.
Perfect.
So
All
so
right.
anyway, I just
Unfortunately,
wanted
we're
to
out of
thank.
time. And I wish someone called, but they didn't. 631-307-4010. Hopefully next time. But in the meantime, you always have insightful information. And how can we reach out to you for your programs?
More to come for sure. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. And what is the website we can reach you at?
Yes, actonlove.com. Yes, so
Perfect.
act on love to yourself and others, and just go there and reach out to me, and I will get back with you for sure.
Will do. Our professional of the year. Thank you so much, Dr. Mamiko. We will be in touch soon. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.